Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Chounji Akuma, and today I want to talk to you about the PvP content patch drop. Now, I wanted to make this video a little after it came out so I could actually get a good perspective on what the patch actually did instead of having a snap judgment, oh my gosh, all this is broken. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over the good, the bad, and then just finish off with my overall opinion. So let's start off with what it did, followed by the bad, followed by the good in that order. Alright, so what this patch actually did was it added a new map, which is awesome, and it went to make PvP defense and offense actually useful. Now, how useful, that's still undetermined, but it's more useful than it used to be. It also made PvP ruins something that people actually use nowadays, as well as my favorite part, made Esper's mobile, which I'll definitely talk about here in a few minutes. The final thing it actually did was nerfed healing to have a no higher than 70% potency, which means if you heal for 100 before the patch, you're only going to be healing for 70 after the patch. So it hurt healers quite a bit, and a lot of healers actually quit the game that I knew because of this specific part of this patch. This sucked a lot, and it made healers not worthless, but made them less effective. I've heard of a lot of people figuring out how to heal properly now after the patch, so a lot of people are not actually having as many issues, but initially this was gigantic, and many people switched to DPS spec because they could not heal anymore. Some of the things that they still have not fixed, however, even after this patch has been out for a while, are things such as time to kill. Now, time to kill is way faster than it used to be, almost to the point of where it was in beta, which was absurd, stuff that you could not heal through, and so on and so forth. Things like spell slingers can now do up to 20k charge shots on players and basically global them almost instantly. This is a huge issue, and they definitely are one of or the top PvP most played classes because they are so extremely powerful. They are at the point, in my opinion, of being overpowered. Before this patch, I did have the opinion that they were too strong, but now this is just bringing it over the top. So this is really unfortunate, and I hope this gets fixed soon. Along those lines, warriors as well as stalkers do tremendous amount of damage. This goes along with time to kill, and I'm not exactly sure why they're doing so much damage, but they still do well over 6k rampages as well as up to 8 to 10k innate hits. This is silly simply because innates in and of themselves are too easily used, and I, in my opinion, do not personally think that they should hit that hard on, at least in PvP. In PvE, sure, but in PvP, that's really unfortunate, and it makes the time to kill something just absurd. Now, stalkers, on the other hand, I don't think they are over the top or overpowered. I think it's simply because people are actually getting 1800 gear now and actually using stalkers to their full potential. So this is helping stalkers raise to the ranks of, warriors and spell slingers up in the A and S class. One of my favorite parts of this patch was that they made the DPS build of Espers more enjoyable, and it made them have more options for builds instead of, the standstill range DPS or the I'm going to be a melee DPS and try to face tank you, which did not work out all the time. Now, I'm really happy with the Esper DPS currently, simply because they actually have their innate, which they can use on cooldown, and it can be used offensively. Previously, in my opinion, Esper's innate was generally used defensively simply because it rooted you. I know there's programs that could help you take off the root and you'd still get the side points back, and it's one of those things that I really didn't want to use because it was a game mechanic that was flawed that needed to be fixed. So that's fantastic. I'm extremely happy with the Esper changes, making them mobile. They're more up to par with some of the other classes now. Not nearly as close to stalkers, warriors, and spell slingers, but they are not on the bottom anymore. So that's really good to see. Now, something that the patch did try to help was make PvP stats useful, but I don't think they actually implemented them 100% correctly, simply because even with a full 15 or 1800 set, you're still being hit by about the same as much as you were being hit prior to the patch, except for now, you're just hitting players who have less gear even harder. So these stats were nice thought, I guess, but it just didn't get to the point of where it should have been. And because of this, the time to kill and the damage simply is far too high, and the healing potential is way too low to balance this upping of the damage. Now, in my opinion, this either needs to lower the damage substantially or at least increase the health pool. Now, I'd rather not see the health pool increase, and I'd simply like to see the damage reduced, or at least the time to kill increased by making PvP stats more useful, which would in turn technically lower the damage. Now, when it comes to Arena, which is one of my favorite things to do, it pains me to say that they're currently a joke. There are far too many players in 1800 gear tanking their rating down to something like 300. The reason this is such a major issue is because players who are trying to increase their rating in a legit manner are having major issues and gigantic walls to climb over because they're facing so many of these 1800 players. Now, this is one of the biggest problems, in my opinion, when it comes to arenas, and I think that it needs to be fixed, or these players need to be punished, because this should be considered an exploit. Now, because of the ELO system, it's not working as planned, and players are able to do this pretty easily. Now, there are lots of opinions on how to fix this so that 1800 rated players and 1800 geared players are unable to face anyone below their gear level, such as basically making the ELO system based off of what gear you queued with, which means if I'm wearing 1800 gear and I queue, I cannot switch out that gear and I cannot queue into a 1200 geared team. This would actually help with a lot of issues, but it would also hinder it simply because there'd be a lot less queue pops, and there'd probably be exploits regardless on this fashion as well. Overall, this really sucks. Arenas is definitely something I want them to fix as soon as possible, because without arenas being in a good spot, it's almost impossible to get any type of PvP gear past 1500. And this is a gigantic letdown for me, since this is one of the main reasons I even started to play this game. Now, this content patch drop was not all bad, so I don't want you to think that. For example, they created an entirely new BG map that's a 15 versus 15, and it's gigantic. This is probably one of the bigger maps, and I love that you can use your hoverboard. There's 3 different points you can take. There's bombs. There's just so many different things you can do on this map that I'm very pleased with it. I know there's a lot of people that aren't, and I know there's one exploit that allows you to get into players' bases and kill them before, or as soon as they spawn, I should say. But overall, this BG is definitely a big plus when it comes to this patch. Now, there's some other interesting things they added, or they will be adding here soon in the future, such as the staggering of gear, which is awesome. I am very happy it's not just as soon as you hit 1500, boom, all of it. As soon as you hit 1800, boom, here's 1800 gear. Now, instead, what they're doing is, for instance, if you're at 1500 gear currently, you're actually going to get your first 1800 piece of the set at about 1550, and it goes up from there, 1550, 1600, 1650, 17, and so on and so forth, until you have the full set once you hit 1800. This is going to dramatically help players go from that 15 to 1800 gap, because currently that 15-1800 gap is very large. However, in the future, they've been saying that they're actually going to make the blue set equivalent to the 1500 set, and make the 1500 set the gap in between the 15 and the 18 currently. So it's going to make it even smaller gap between the 2 or the 3 sets, which is definitely a plus. I cannot wait till they implement that, because I think that's going to actually be one of the biggest and best things they can actually implement in this game when it comes to PvP, other than fixing what I've already previously stated. And the last thing that I really want to talk about that's all good is simply the Esper changes. I know I spoke about this earlier, but you have no idea how long I have been waiting for these changes. I cannot believe that we're finally mobile, and it's fantastic. If you have not been able to play an Esper at level 50 with these new changes, I highly suggest that you either watch one to stream, watch a video of it because it's fantastic, or if you've played against one, I'm sure you've noticed that they're probably doing a lot better than they used to, especially if you're, say for instance, a stalker. You're probably having a way tougher time killing Espers, or at least from my perspective, stalkers are a lot easier. All right, well, that's pretty much all I want to talk about. This is kind of a longer video, and overall, this patch does do something good for the game, but in a general sense, it did not fix the problems that it should have, especially when it comes to the PvP gear and the reduction on how long it takes to kill someone. I'm looking forward to what they have planned for the future, and I think they are on the right path. That's what you guys have to understand. They are on the right path, but it's going to take time to fix. This game is super young, and people do not realize that MMOs in general do not do as well as this game has already done for its initial release. So I'm happy with it. I'm sad about some parts, but I think that it's eventually going to get fixed. So that's all I have for you guys. Please feel free to like, favorite, subscribe, and comment on this video, of course. If you have differing opinions, or maybe you have something, or you heard about something that's coming in the future that I did not describe in this video, I'd love to hear about it. And as always, guys, I'll see you next time, and good luck.